Okay.
Hello, I'm Sharon Akins, and today I'm interviewing Ed Baker. Ed, you are running for the 2016 presidential election, correct?
Yeah, I really appreciate being able to talk to you today. So my name is Ed Baker. I'm a candidate in the 2016 presidential election. I'm not a member of any political party, and I'm very serious about being an option for people to consider supporting that can win this election. So I'm looking forward to answering your questions today.
Okay, the first question I have for you is, I know I asked you this when we met last week before, but for the sake of our video interview, I'd like to ask again. What is your day job, or was your day job?
Right now, everything that I'm doing is devoted to this campaign. This is a full-time job in and of itself. There's just a lot to do. I'm very serious about this, and there've only been 44 presidents before this, so in order to win this election, we got to be working pretty much full-time, non-stop. So that's what I'm doing right now. Previously, I worked in call center management, retail management positions.
Okay. Question number 2 is, what is your stance on the Constitution?
Constitution is one of my biggest things. Constitution, rights, freedom, I kind of lump all together. As far as I always end up talking about just a couple of the issues then, but really the entire Constitution is very important. I don't think we should have to be in a free speech zone to have our right to free speech. Gun owner rights, which I'm sure we'll cover a bit later, is very important to me as well. I don't think that we should, the search and seizure type things without warrants and being able to detain people without probable cause. I've got problems with all those things. And also states' rights are very important.
Okay. What is your stance on patriot groups?
What do we mean by that? Patriot groups? Are we talking things like 3%ers and...
The 3%ers...
Oath keepers, militias, and all those sorts of things. I think it's great. I think we need groups like that. From what I've got a lot of supporters within those organizations. My understanding of them is basically that they are people that are trying to preserve our freedoms and have our voices heard. Anybody that isn't acting in a way that is violent or in a way that is threatening, intimidating, abusing others, but in their efforts with these groups, I think it's very much a positive thing. We need all that we can get.
Okay. Under the Constitution, who has the sovereign authority to govern?
It's a good question. I'm not love the Constitution. I'm not sure how to answer that. It should be the people, though. We should have the say, and those that are elected should be our representatives. They should be our voices. I think, to me, that's the simplest way to describe it.
Okay. We've pretty much covered what your stance is on gun control. So I want to skip ahead to recently demands have reached our legislators in the wake of the UCC shooting. And those demands include wanting Senate Bill 941 requiring background checks for private firearm sales be immediately enforced at every level and supported by appropriate resources. These go on to include having a longer waiting period of 28 days for firearm purchases, having to have a license to possess or purchase a firearm. That includes getting a gun safety course, an evaluation of personal history and mental well-being, and a thorough background check. There are more extensive requirements that are being put forth in these demands. What is your stance on those?
Yeah, so that's way too much. So my look at it is a few things. One, I'm a big believer in the Second Amendment, gun owner rights. I certainly think that we do need to take a step to try to make sure that people with certain felonies and severe mental illness have some difficulty obtaining a gun. Okay. To that degree, that is it. I think that it should be a basic background check. I think it should be pretty straightforward. It certainly should not be a 28-day period. It should not have to require, the extensive training courses or anything of that nature. I don't agree with the having to have a gun in a safe with unloaded and safety lock on and all these other things that they're coming out with. To me, you should be able to have the gun ready to protect yourself. Recently, there was an 8-year-old boy that got a hold of his parents' loaded gun and killed himself. And that came out, and a friend of mine posted that, who apparently this friend of mine is for stricter gun laws, and posted this on Facebook. And my thing is this: it's horrible that that happened. The parents were probably negligent to leave a gun in the house while the boy was home alone that he could get to, and it was loaded, and that happened. There are something like 23 million kids between the ages of like 7 and 11 in America, and those other 23 million did not kill themselves. They did not get a hold of a gun and do that. So we too often take a horrible incident or an accident that happens, and we have 318 million people in America, and we look at when one person dies or one accident happens or one person commits a horrible crime, and then we punish everyone else that did no wrong. I have a problem with that.
What would be the best way to keep potential terrorists out of our country?
Not letting them in to begin with would be a good start. So I think we definitely need to, be a little bit smarter about how we allow people into this country. It seems that we are so concerned about letting in certain people, and yet we do everything we can to encourage other people to enter our country, and it seems that often we're letting in people that could easily be influenced by extremist groups, terrorist groups like ISIS. I think we just need to be more careful about that process. We need to stop catering to people when they come here, and we need people that come here that want to be Americans and want to live within our beliefs and our values. We shouldn't be having to apologize for our history or trying to accommodate people that come here that really don't want to be Americans to begin with. I've got a real problem with us taking down things or putting up things just to make them feel more at home. So.
Okay, currently America is $18 trillion in debt and counting under President Obama. If elected, what actions would you take to reduce our debt?
So on my original, and I've even taken this off my website and even off my business card or my campaign card, I had pay off the $18 trillion national debt. The more that I'm learning about this is that there isn't even that much money out there to do that. The interest is not accounted for. There just isn't that much money. So it's a scam. It's a complete, it's a mess. It's a disaster. It's a scam. We need to end the Federal Reserve, in my opinion. I'm trying to learn more about the exact process that'll happen in, but there's no question it's a huge problem. The interest is ridiculous. We shouldn't be having to pay interest on this money to begin with, and it's a huge issue. So we need to, as far as our spending problems, I just think there's waste in everything that we're spending money on with the government. I think that we need to really look at every dollar that we're paying out and make sure that we can cut waste across the board. But no, we need to end the Federal Reserve, and I've got some people on my team that are really working on helping me understand, a plan for doing that.
Okay. See, what would you do to ensure religious freedom was protected? For example, Christianity is come under attack from the gay, bi, lesbian, transgender community currently.
Well, I have supporters of all different religious beliefs. I would identify myself as a Christian. I don't go to church, so some people would look at me and say, well, he's not very much of a Christian or whatever, but I have my beliefs. I feel very comfortable with them. I have supporters that would fall under any religion or non-believers or atheists, and I think that all of the above is fine. Be yourself. As long as you are not harming other people. I don't like it pushed in my face what somebody's religion is. I don't do that to anyone else. So bottom line is, if I'm elected president, I'll do my best to represent everybody, as long as they're not harming people with their beliefs, right? I believe America's a better place when we have Christian values as at the forefront. So I have a problem every time we take down the 10 Commandments from somewhere, like the state capitol building where it came down after, I'm sure it's been up there forever. Even if 15% or 30% of Americans say, I don't like that being up there because it doesn't fall into my beliefs, I think that's okay to leave it up. I have a bigger, I say it's okay for you not to like it, and it's okay for them to continue doing what you don't like in that case. I think America's a better place when we have those values. And too far, we're getting too far removed from it. As far as the lesbian and gay communities go, honestly, I am for equal rights, and I am for gay marriage. I have no problem with that. I don't like the way that it came into existence by the Supreme Court. I hate the way that they went into their chambers and came out and said this is going to be the way it is. They're there to rule on existing laws, not create their own, what they think things should be. In upcoming sessions, now they're talking about having 2 gun control issues go to the Supreme Court. It concerns me very much what power they seem to have to just come out and say this is how it is now, 9 people or whatever it is. My thing with gay marriage is most of the states had already voted for that to be legal in those states, but there were southern states, some of the states did not approve that. I don't think those states should have to recognize gay marriage until the majority of them vote and say this is what we want. When you force people within a state to accept a new rule, new law, that's where you get the resentment, and I don't think that's right. So anytime there's going to be a change of a law, I think it should be voted on. Marijuana would be that way. You know, these different things, legalization, those things. I am for legalization of marijuana. That might be on your questions, but I'm just trying to point out here that Oregon already had approved that or voted that in. Washington, Colorado, a few other states, a lot of states haven't yet. Even though I'm for that, I don't think that the Supreme Court should just suddenly go, okay, it's legal, and force it on every community in America. I think that that should still be voted state by state. I'm for states deciding what they want to do. I'm for, I don't believe that a person decides, in most cases anyway, I'm going to be gay. I think that I think that they're attracted to who they're attracted to, and I think that they should have the same opportunities to, whether you call it marriage or union or whatever, but I think they should be able to commit to another person and have the same joys and pains as anyone else.
What is your stance on abortion? Do you think it is a woman's right to choose?
I do, and I think it's more important. It should be a couple's right to talk about that, but it is her body that ultimately that is, you know, pregnant. But they both did the act to get pregnant. I think that we need to look at the people that are in those positions where they're choosing to have an abortion, that they probably should have taken some action ahead of time to not get pregnant. So I think that we do need better education there. We need to make sure that birth control opportunities are there. I have a problem with Planned Parenthood in the sense that, one, whatever's come out recently about them, I guess, selling body parts or whatever this stuff is, organs or whatever, I've got a huge problem with that. They should not be doing that. I have a problem with them accepting federal money to be in existence to begin with. Why are we paying money out for something like that? I think in general, it's not just that, but in any programs, if you disagree with it and you don't want to support it, but you're paying taxes and the federal government is saying a portion of your money is going to this program that you're adamantly against, that's a problem. So I think an organization like Planned Parenthood, assuming that they weren't doing the bad, you know, these things that have come out lately, but if they were just offering the services, pregnancy resources or abortion that is legal, I have no problem with that, but it should be self-funded. It should be funded by those that want to see it exist, not the federal government, okay? So I don't have a problem with another company coming in and taking over for Planned Parenthood and doing things in a more ethical manner. I have a problem with Planned Parenthood for what they have done. At the end of the day, I'm pro-choice, That being said, this is not an issue, just like gay rights isn't an issue where I get fired up about it. It's not something where I would march for, call my congressman about, celebrate changes to laws. I didn't put up a rainbow flag when the gay marriage thing came down, right? I think it's horrible that they did that to the White House, you know, and made it into a rainbow that day or whatever. For me, it's just not a thing I get fired up about. I do with immigration issues, I do with the realities of September 11th, things of those natures. Those are my issues, right? So in closing on this, I think for abortion, if you're against abortion, you're in that position where you're pregnant and that is an option, you're probably going to choose not to go forward with an abortion. If you're on the other side of that and you're open to abortion and you're in that same position, you may consider it. If you don't think it's right for me to have that choice, then by all means, protest, do whatever you need to do to try to get that change. For me, it's just not an issue that I'm passionate about. I care more about the people that are alive today in America, the people that will be born, and the people that were alive and died for our freedom. Those are where I put my concerns.
Okay.
That was my short answer.
What would you do to stop discrimination in all areas of and abuse of women? This comes from Rebecca Reeder.
So I think that sounds like two different things. Discrimination in all areas and abuse of women. First of all, abuse of women is one of my biggest issues. It's and not just women, children, men, animals. I've got a huge problem with anyone that threatens, intimidates, or abuses any of the above, right? We need very strong penalties. I'm happy with things like the NFL, which didn't take good action until recently when it became such an issue, but now, you know, they do a lot of talk anyway about, you know, standing up for you know, to anybody that's abusing women, standing up, taking action against those people. We need reality to take place there. We need to have strong punishments for those things. You know, and it can't be tolerated. I'm somebody that, not a tough guy at all, but anytime that I see any type of domestic thing, I get involved. I come out there, I have my phone in my hand, I say I'm calling the police, and I'm making presence. And maybe one day that'll lead to my demise or I will get hurt doing it, but I would rather put my own life in risk to help somebody that's being abused than try to go to sleep at night and you know, having not done anything, right? The other thing on there is discrimination. I think one, it's okay to be yourself. I think that it's okay for you to have your opinions about certain people. If you're somebody that says, I'm only going to date this type of person, not this type of person, I don't think that's, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, okay? Some people go, well, that's ignorant. You know, you're ignorant to say you're not going to date a person of this race or whatever. I say it's, you know what you like, you know what who you want to be with, right? When it comes to like employment, I think that is a different thing. Like when it comes to a decision to hire somebody or affecting their income, things of that nature. So there should already be laws on the books for that. We just need to enforce them.
Okay. What is your stance on Common Core?
Everything I know about Common Core, I don't like about it. I think that the federal government needs to be out of education. I think it should be up to the communities how they, what they want their children to be taught and how. I don't think very many people are going to try to have their children at a disadvantage going forward. I think they will, in most cases, try to do the best for them. It's all about money at the end of the day. They're trying to, you know, offer money, and that's why these school districts jump on things. The teachers aren't trained properly. The parents can't help their kids. To me, I look at it and I go, I would have never made it out of grade school if I had to do a math problem in 119 steps. For me, I remember being, you know, in second, third grade in the summer, and my mom having flashcards about that big, and having sitting there memorizing them, going through them, and that's how I learned. So if I had to do it on paper in 100 and some steps, I would never do it. I don't get it.
Okay, what would you do to engage the sleeping voter?
Wow, that's a good question. That's a really good question. The first thing is, in order for us to win this election, we got to go out, we got to vote. And a lot of the people that are not participating are the people that want the change most. They really are people that would like to support someone like myself or a third-party candidate, and they're sick and tired of what they're getting, so now they're turned off and don't want to vote. I didn't vote in 2012, and it's because I'm where these people are. You know, I just didn't feel it really mattered. I didn't like the two choices that were being pushed down my throat, and I just didn't see a point. I will tell you that the majority of a lot of people I talk to tell me I haven't voted before or I wasn't going to vote, and a lot of them say I now feel like I've got someone I can feel good about supporting and voting. So I believe there are enough voters out there that don't vote. that was a backwards thing, but there are enough people out there that could vote that choose not to vote, that if we could win them over, we could win this election. I have no doubt that there are a lot of people out there. So we just need them to know that their vote does count, and that they probably are more important than they realize in this process. And you know, we just need to get them involved.
Okay. Many people believe that there are three boxes: the soap box, the ballot box, and the cartridge box. In addition, many people think that the ballot box is broken. What ideas do you have to fix it?
I'm not sure what the soap box or the cartridge box is. I guess in this soap box, from my understanding, people stand on the soap box and to be heard. I'm trying to figure out this cartridge box, but that didn't answer. But
it's a gun thing.
Okay. I got you. So the ballot box is broken. I'm concerned about the electronic votes actually being registered correctly or the end report being accurate. That is something that I don't know how we overcome if that is in fact at play in this election. My belief is a portion of the system is rigged. I think we can overcome it. Where I see it being rigged possibly is at the primary level. It seems to me that the candidates that come out for the Democrat and Republican primary at the end of the day are really about the same person. You look at like 2004, you had Bush against Kerry. They both were members of the Skull and Bones secret society, of which there were only a couple hundred living members of that. You've had Howard Taft, Taft, George Bush Sr. and George Bush Jr. That were all Skull and Bones members. So to have out of 318 million people in America, and your two choices are both Skull and Bones members to choose from, I think that's a pretty good indication that at the end of the day, they're basically the same people that you have to choose from. I think whichever one of those two people win, they're going to serve the same evil agenda, not the American people. So what I believe is that they don't account for that third-party candidate in that equation. I think that they give you the illusion of choice there, they play the game for TV, for ratings and whatever, for entertainment, to have these two candidates fight each other. At the end of the day, one wins, one loses, it's the same result. I think that we can get in there, and I think if we can get enough people on board, that we can overthrow that whole system. If the electronic thing is rigged at the end of the day, and we've seen things in Ohio where it's come out that's happened in the past, that may be difficult to overcome. You know, I don't know, but I think we got to give it our best shot. I'd like to see a paper tally. I'd like to see it all be on paper and have actually people counting the votes, real people.
Okay. See, many people think that there is government overreach and too many departments that are running rampant with illegal activities such as the IRS and the EPA. What do you plan to do about it?
We need a smaller government in general. We need less programs. We need to put things in the community hands. We do need to look at the IRS and these other programs, CIA, all these programs, and see if we can eliminate them or downsize them in any way. I just think in general that every time somebody, these people pass a law, that I think that every time that these lawmakers, put things into law, basically we're losing more freedom and more rights. So we need a smaller government. We need to have the people in charge. I think any government that is still in place, they need to be there for the people. They need to actually be American people working for American people. So I don't have all the answers when it comes to the IRS when it comes to these agencies, if they're lawful to begin with, if they should be in existence. We need to look at all those things, and we need to try to get a smaller government and less dependency on it.
What are your thoughts on the Iran nuclear deal?
I've heard both sides of it. It doesn't sound very good to me. You know, a lot of people have said that if they were elected, they'd just crumple it up on day one and ditch it. I don't understand why we couldn't get our hostages out of there for it to begin with. We have 4 prisoners over there, hostages, whatever you want to call them, and we couldn't negotiate their release. So it's clear to me that our president isn't interested in that. I don't know enough about it to speak beyond that. I think that I've heard both sides, that some people think that they're better off now with it, that they really couldn't create a nuclear weapon that could really do anything now because of the restrictions now that are in place. But immediately following it, their leadership over there said we don't care about what we just agreed to anyway, that they'll do their own thing. So I don't have any confidence in John Kerry or our president in what they've done, and so I doubt that it's a good deal.
Which former president inspires you and why?
All that's coming into my head is JFK, and I'm seeing his head get blown off in my image right now, and so I don't know if that's a good thing for me or not. But he seemed to stand up for the people and did things right. He would probably be the most. I'm 37 right now, so my first president I remember is Ronald Reagan. These last 4 since him I have not liked. I liked Bill Clinton while I was young and I was making money and it seemed like things were good. But what I've learned since, I don't have any liking of any of our last 4 presidents. Ronald Reagan to me seemed like somebody you could respect, somebody that was presidential to me. These last 4 have been embarrassments as far as I'm concerned. So in a way I could say Ronald Reagan. In a way I could say JFK.
What does politically correct mean to you?
Politically correct. It means to me that we cave into what a small group of people want and that we try to appease them and not ruffle any of their feathers, and the people that are quiet and aren't making their voices heard suffer because of it. It's a bad thing.
Do you think the media should be unbiased, and why?
It should be 100% unbiased, and it's disgusting that it's not. I hate watching, and I don't watch, for the most part, presidential debates because the moderators are disgusting. They are rude. They are biased. They are just trying to get their own shows promoted by getting some reactions from the candidates. I watched the first Republican debate because I had a radio show where they wanted me to talk about it, that I was a guest on, and I found it horrible. It was embarrassing to just listen to how rude they were to the people on stage. I don't know. To me, I can't do more than 10 minutes of the media watching it on TV because I just get angry, and it's more than anything, it's the talking head, the person that is trying to tell you how to think. They should put out the information in as neutral a way as possible and let you decide. I would imagine that if you watch one network and another network, that you get 2 different stories on the same thing, rather than just the facts. So it's very important and that they are unbiased, and they are not at all unbiased. I think that they're all working in conjunction with the people behind the curtains that are leading us down the path that we're on.
Okay, and what should be done about the media if it becomes too unbiased? Or too biased?
You would hope that you get alternative media that would take off, where you could just stop turning on those shows. You know, it's ratings at the end of the day, you would think, that are driving a lot of this stuff. So you would hope eventually that enough people would turn off CNN and MSNBC, Fox News, whatever it is, and that we could start doing this alternative media that's certain. if it is still biased at all, it seems to be biased more in the direction of reality and more so than what we're getting from these other organizations. I'm concerned about internet censorship that's being talked about and what may happen there, where they're talking about making it so that websites can't have links on it to go to other pages. And I've heard some well-known independent news places say we'll be out of business if that happens. So that's pretty scary, internet censorship and things like that.
Okay, and last question. Why should people vote for you?
People should vote for me because I'm not a member of any political party. What we have going, that's one of the reasons. You have Republicans and Democrats, and what they basically are saying when they talk at these, when they're trying to rally support is, I will represent this group of people and not this group of Americans. And that creates this neighbor versus neighbor ongoing civil war. I'm somebody that is neutral. I look at each issue individually. If you disagree with me on gun control, you might agree with me on immigration or on gay rights or on anything else, right? So just because you disagree with me on one thing, you might agree with me on the next 4 important issues. It's not in a black or white situation where you just are going to dislike me because I'm against you the whole way, right? And that's how I look at it. I believe that I give a better chance to unite Americans than anyone else that will be on your ballot. I also look at important issues that we didn't talk about, such as September 11th, 2001. No other candidate that will be on the ballot is going to address the reality of what happened that day. I do not believe the official story to be what happened. We've lost a lot of freedom as a result of it. A lot of people died, wars, money, everything that went with it. The people that are responsible are still in power, and we need to take action against them. We need a real investigation. I'm for disclosure, less government secrecy, and I'm for taking a strong stand against anyone that abuses their power in a position of authority. We need to stand up and take action. We need to put control back in the people, and that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.